45-year-old Ryan Borgwardt went missing on August 12, 2024, while he was on a fishing trip. His wife and kids were beyond devastated with seemingly the death of Ryan. On November 11, 2004, the police started picking up traction, thinking that maybe he didn't capsize and his body was not located. After this started making news, on November 11, 2024, Ryan sent a video to the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office confirming that he was alive and safe. He told the police that he had met a woman, and so he faked his own death and flew to Europe to be with her. Ryan returned to the United States on December 10, 2024, and is currently facing up to $10,000 in fines and 9 months in prison for the alleged obstruction of an officer. Here is his sentencing.
The defendant will be pleading no contest to the charge of obstructing an officer. Joint recommendation for 45 days in the county jail, Huber privileges, work release privileges, court costs, and a DNA sample. It says you'll be pleading no contest to the charge of obstructing an officer. Is that correct?
Correct.
You are 45 years old, 17 years of schooling. You do have a high school diploma or equivalency. You understand the English language and the charge to which you are pleading. Is that correct?
Correct.
Have you had enough time to think about this?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to discuss this case in the plea agreement with your attorney?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Do you understand what we're doing here today?
Yes.
Knowing all of this, do you still wish to plead no contest to the charge?
Yes.
Based on that, the court finds there is a factual basis for the plea based on the complaint. The court will find you guilty as charged, order a judgment of conviction be entered here today.
We now know that in the late evening of August 11th of 2024, the defendant arrived in Green Lake, Wisconsin, and put in motion the final steps to his plan of faking his death so that he could disappear from his everyday life of being a husband and father in Wisconsin and realized his selfish and self-centered plan to travel overseas to be with a woman that he met online. Months earlier, defendant began the extensive planning to execute this perfect plan to disappear from his normal life. He took out a sizable life insurance policy. Defendant transferred money overseas. He regularly communicated with the woman, professing his love and desire to create a new life with her. He reversed his vasectomy. He applied for a replacement passport, claiming that his original one, which his wife found in the family safe in its normal place, was lost or stolen. He researched and studied how to successfully disappear. He looked into how to fake a drowning and chose our beautiful lake, Green Lake, which his research revealed would make his ruse more believable. He believed that Green Lake's great depth would mean that a body would not surface. According to the defendant, his entire plan to fake his death, to devastate his family in order to serve his own selfish desires, hinged on him dying in the lake and selling his death to the world. His words. What defendant didn't count on was the great concern and dedication of the Green Lake County community and the dogged resolve of our law enforcement. For 58 days, the Green Lake County Sheriff's Department, with the support and assistance from community members, Bruce's Legacy, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, cadaver dogs, deep divers, fishermen, local businesses, regional and national law enforcement partners searched for the defendant. The defendant's family was left to believe that he was missing or worse, dead. Meanwhile, law enforcement was determined to help his family find closure and left no stone unturned. 58 days after the defendant faked his death, this investigation pivoted. Law enforcement discovered that on August 13th of 2024, the defendant was encountered in Canada. Law enforcement would continue to dig and find that the defendant flew from Canada into Europe, where he then went to the country of Georgia. Once there, he began to create a life with the woman he met on the internet, getting a job and an apartment. The defendant continued to covertly monitor the news to ensure that he was successful in faking his death. He took extra precautions while overseas so as to not leave a digital footprint that could lead to his discovery. Once again, the defendant did not count on the determination and dedication of our law enforcement. Beginning on November 8th of 2025, 89 days after the defendant faked his death, the Green Lake Sheriff's Office began a months-long electronic communication with the defendant. The defendant admitted to his ruse. He admitted to the work he did, purchasing an e-bike, abandoning his vehicle, ditching the kayak on the lake along with his tackle box that had his driver's license in it and his fishing rod, stashing that e-bike and an extra battery along with clothes and money, riding through the night to the Madison area where he dumped that e-bike in a park and later boarded a Greyhound bus which took him to Canada, flying then overseas to accomplish his goal. The Sheriff's Department continued to communicate with the defendant for approximately 1 month, convincing him to return to Wisconsin to account for and answer to his actions. On December 10th, 2025, 121 days after the defendant put his plan into action, he returned. He is now convicted of the Class A misdemeanor of obstruction for knowingly placing physical evidence with the intent to mislead officers in the performance of their duties. And while a misdemeanor conviction, along with 45 days in jail and payment of a portion of the costs expended by our law enforcement to discover his devastating act, cannot begin to fix the damage he has done, it tells our community that we will hold individuals accountable and may also act as a deterrent to future destructive plans such as this. Those that may wish to disappear are on notice that our community will not give up after a few days. We will continue to dig, and if we find that a crime has occurred, we will work to hold you accountable.
My client deeply regrets his decisions that he made initially. However, I think he's made some really good and positive decisions after those events. All of the decisions boil down to one thing, and that is that he is here taking responsibility for his actions. He came back from Europe to take responsibility from his actions, and I think that that's worth noting as well, because this was a non-extraditable misdemeanor. He didn't want to come back. He didn't need to come back. He did, and he wanted to make amends, and that's why he returned. Finally, the need to protect the public, as the state has discussed. I don't think that he's a danger to the community. I think perhaps what he did warrants some punishment, and is why we are agreeing that the 45-day jail term is appropriate. So I think based upon all of those factors, this is an appropriate recommendation, and I'd ask the court to follow it.
I deeply regret the actions that I did that night and all the pain that I caused my family and friends.
The defendant is facing a sentence on the crime of obstructing an officer. This is typically for someone who gives a false name or misleads an officer. It is not a serious crime, but it is a drain on police resources. In this case, the defendant led law enforcement to expend time and resources to search for him. That made more difficult the performance of their duties. Now, the defendant has said he didn't think law enforcement would search for him as long as they did. But the point is, the defendant's actions, faking his death, required the Sheriff's Department to expend resources to search for him, and that obstructed law enforcement. A factor the court can consider for sentencing is deterrence for the defendant and anyone else who is thinking about faking their death. If you persist in your deception, the longer you obstruct, the longer you are duplicit. Instead of coming forward and admitting your mistake, the longer the penalty should be. Therefore, the court sentences the defendant to 89 days in the county jail.